But this album for me was straight up a love letter to the LA sound or the West Coast sound, LA car culture. He mentions GNX 3 or 4 times in the with that throughout the songs. The Latin influence of the West Coast on music. That's why the mariachi singer was incorporated and woven into this throughout the album, and also 90s music that he grew up on. So LA or West Coast sound, car culture, 90s music, and the Latin influence in LA or the West Coast.
Like, all of that would be something that I would never have known because I don't really know his history like that. And actually, I did think like it was so cool to have the kind of almost the grit of some of the like the rap beats and stuff and some of the stuff he was talking about, but I didn't quite understand. Like, is he just done that because it sounds great? Like, but I imagine it was far more intentional than that. What am I going, people dems? So I reacted to Kendrick Lamar's album last week, which was sick. Like, it was the first rap album I've reacted to ever on my channel. It's the first rap album I've actually listened to in its entirety in like I couldn't even tell you the last time I reacted to or listened to a rap album. I really couldn't tell you. Obviously, listen to like songs and whatever as they come through on my Spotify and whatever, but like never like been like right. I'm gonna listen to Drake's album, frigging like any rap artist's whole album. I just don't listen to rap like that. And it was just so amazing. Like I really enjoyed it, and I think there was a lot of things I probably picked up on, but there's also a lot of things I definitely wouldn't have done, which I did say at the beginning of the reaction that like, yo, don't come for me yet. Like this. I'm trying. I am trying to find out what this album is saying, like all the little double meanings and stuff. But there were so many things that like I'm just not aware of, particularly as from like an American to British perspective. So what's been really cool is that like I've read some of the comments, which has been really awesome. So thank you so much for the people who have watched and watched with me and, and commented with me as well. That's really cool. Then one of my Patreon members actually sent me some voice notes as to some of the things that like I had missed out on. So I asked her beforehand if I could actually play some of these because I'm like, for a lot of people they may already have picked up on some of these things, but if anyone's watching with me, actually some of the things that I probably have raised, a lot of the things you've actually answered for me, so people can then watch that and then maybe watch the part two of it too. Cause I just thought there were so many things that you said. I'm like, wow, okay, I did not know that, and so it's just really. I was very much like that sick. So if there's anyone else out there that's like a complete Kendrick novice like me, then that could be really helpful. So I'm gonna play what she sent me, which I think is really cool.
Good evening, Luke. I don't know what time it is there, so my apologies. I just finished watching your GNX review, and I was taking some notes because you have a lot of questions, and naturally because it's not one of the genres you're familiar with or anything. So anyway, but this album for me was straight up a love letter to the LA sound or the West Coast sound, LA car culture. He mentions GNX 3 or 4 times in the with that throughout the songs. The Latin influence of the West Coast on music. That's why the mariachi singer was incorporated and woven into this throughout the album, and also 90s music that he grew up on. So LA or West Coast sound, car culture, 90s music, and the Latin influence in LA or the West Coast.
Like, all of that would be something that I would never have known because I don't really know his history like that. And actually, I did think like it was so cool to have the kind of almost the grit of some of the like the rap beats and stuff and some of the stuff he was talking about, but didn't quite understand. Like, is he just done that because it sounds great? Like, but I imagine it was far more intentional than that. So to know that that's actually part of like an LA kind of West Coast kind of sound, I wouldn't have known that at all. So that's really, really awesome. So that's really, really good. And obviously the GNX, I did know that it was a to do with the whole car distribution and stuff. But I just thought it was to do with it being quite a limited, like a limited edition kind of thing. So again, didn't really pick up on the fact that's kind of like a West Coast kind of thing. So again, cool.
And a little tip as far as the way to approach listening to rap, it's like listening to a story or reading a book. And the way an artist can take you into their world, the better you can visualize that world, the more skilled they probably are. So you don't have to necessarily agree with what they're saying, but the way that they paint the picture for you to visualize it is one measure of the artist's skill.
And this is interesting because I think this must be related to the fact that on some of the tracks, I think maybe up on I can't remember which song it was now, but there was a song where he was talking about like people stomping out people and whatever else, and I was a bit like, oh, okay, this is probably where like I get a little bit like, probably don't want to listen to like too much of that because like it's just not something that I can probably relate to, but at the same time, like I think I think that's what's quite poignant about that is had he not been able to paint a good story, it's not something that would have made me go, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't think necessarily like that's not me taking away from any storytelling because I think that's the whole reason why like the wordplay and what goes down in paper to me is so interesting and why like I kind of wanted to react to more of it and stuff and hear more of that because I think yeah your vocals and your songs and stuff can like tell a story but so can actually um like a rap story like I think one of the most um memorable for me, yeah, which and it's probably because I'm my mama's boy, was well, in fact, there's two actually. There's Dancing with the Devil, which always sticks out to me as a story that sticks out in my head, but also Eminem's Stan and Trapped in the Closet, because they were both just so interesting in how they told that story and wove that story. And exactly the same with Trapped in the Closet, with him burying his mother and that kind of stuff. Like, they're just things that I just could not conceive in my own life. But it didn't detract from telling the story of it. Whether I wanted to listen to it a lot, it's a different story. But appreciating the art form of it, absolutely. So I think, yeah, if that was the point that she was making, I think to that point, I think yeah, there's nothing taking away from his storytelling ability at all. But sometimes even that story is not something that I necessarily want to. It's a bit like watching a film, isn't it? Like I've just watched The Substance. I thought it was an amazing film in terms of like the message it was sending and how it was made and all of that. Do I want to watch it again? Not really. So it's a bit like that for me.
Okay, so whacked out murals. Basically, you nailed it as far as what that
Yeah,
song
yeah.
is about. It's he was verbally whacking out or destroying all the murals, the idols of those who had switched up on him that he looked up to. In addition, literally, someone defaced a mural that had been painted of him on the side of a building.
Wow.
The song Taylor Made was the track Drake released during the battle that had the AI Tupac and Snoop verses.
Now, what's interesting about that, yeah, is that when I first listened to that, I was like, "Oh, this is really cool that like you've actually like got these voices in this track and stuff." It's only really once I'd like read a few of the comments and stuff about like, well, it being a bit lame that he did that. That I was like, "Oh, okay, I can see that perspective actually." But initially, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." Like that you kind of incorporated their voices, but it's like, well, actually, why would you need to go and bring those voices into this kind of debate? And the fact that I think that I think she goes on to say later on that the estate for Tupac actually recalled all recordings of that from streaming services and stuff. So again, they're not cool with it. Fans weren't cool with it. The general consensus was that it wasn't cool.
You asked about the Nickersons. The Nickersons is the name of a housing project where he grew up,
Didn't
where
know
they
that.
held battle rap competition. So he was saying, um, dodging strays, ducking strays at the Nickersons. That's what he's talking about. And yeah, he was calling out Shits and Giggles. I don't know what their names.
Yeah,
Their
shits and
name is that
gigs.
those two British guys that came to America and on like a tour and like insulted everybody, and then didn't stand up for their core audience, was black women, while this guy was making the white comedian was making a tasteless joke about him.
And that was Andrew Schultz, right? Because I couldn't remember his name before. It was like the guy with the mustache. And what's interesting about that is you don't really know what to believe because on the one hand, like I know that like Andrew Schultz camp had come out and said that like, oh, that was the stuff that they allowed to be let in. So it was the stuff that they were saying that wasn't allowed to be let in. Like imagine that, and a lot of these like jokes and stuff were coming from them. But obviously from their perspective, they were like, look, sometimes you're so shocked by what's going on that you kind of just end up kind of rolling with it and stuff. And there wasn't really any offense made, so any offense intended. But a lot of people didn't feel that way, and I feel that like actually when there's that volume of people that it's kind of got a resounding message, because I know I felt a way, it wasn't even directed at me, so yeah, that whole thing is just a very interesting, just imagine that like you're trying to leave an impression and a mark on the world, and one of the impressions is that some of your core fan base that helped you get to where you are massively insulted by not feeling that they were protected in a certain space, and yeah, that's not great. But I also feel as though that there was so much heat put on those two, which I can understand as black men, like, but I don't know whether there was as much put on Andrew Schultz as well, like because I think he also fostered an environment that allowed that to happen in the first place. So yeah, but the fact that Kendrick has even made a reference to that whatsoever, I just think is absolutely huge. Like if a rap artist or any artist to that caliber, singer, songwriter, rapper, whatever, whoever was ever going to mention me, like it absolutely wouldn't. I can't even imagine what that would be like to have that completely cemented in history as that was the mention he made of you, because that was the impression that you left.
Black women. Okay. Squabble Up. That song, the actual term "squabble up" equals means fight. Broccoli is weed. You're right. Horn is gun. So keep that horn on me. That Kamasi
Would never
is
have got that.
actually a double entendre because horn is, of course, slang for a gun, but it's also a horn. And Kamasi is a sax player, Kamasi Washington. So keep the horn on me. That Kamasi. Bunk skunk is bad, stinky weed. Black and
Okay.
Mild is a cigar. You were right. They sell it at convenience stores, and most of the time they empty it, put weed in it instead, and smoke that.
Okay.
Ace Boom Coon is actually not a bad term here. It means friend. So he said Ace Boom Coon from the west side to Senegal. It's actually a term of endearment. It's like that's my ace. I don't know why they added the boom coon. I guess because it rhymes. But I mean, I've heard that term ace boom coon like that all my life, so it's considered a friend.
Like that to me, like I would never imagine hearing that here, and someone like that being a positive thing. So that's again how these cultural things can just be so different, because I can imagine just walking down the road and saying that to someone, or someone saying that to me, and I instantly be like, I beg your pardon. So it's just really interesting to hear that.
Or Luther, yeah, that is Kendrick harmonizing the whole way through the song with SZA. He has sung on other projects. Man in the Garden, that I Deserve It All song. Well, first of all, I saw that as not him necessarily bragging, but it's kind of empower. It's like a mantra. It's like an empowering kind of song where you can put yourself in in his place and say, "I deserve it all," because everybody that works hard and is a good person, I think deserves everything that they desire. So that's the way I looked at it.
'Cause I think at the time I was like, oh, initially I was like, oh, this seems a bit like almost like it could be like an ego thing, like someone like I deserve it all, and therefore it kind of goes on a bit of a rampage for all the things that they think feel almost entitled to almost. But even like listening to the by the end of the song, I didn't think that, but that's what I thought initially. But even listening to his Super Bowl performance, like he mentions about hating people who feel entitled and stuff. So it didn't really fit with where I thought he would be coming from. But it was just like an initial thought for the song. But yeah, that's really cool that you mentioned that.
What the title means is probably biblical in the sense that when you're in a garden, you're with nature and you feel closer to God. So you bear your soul, so that in your all your desires are laid bare, kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, I like that. Because I was like, oh, man at the garden, that's got to be something to do with like Adam and Eve, maybe, like the forbidden tree or something like that. But it does give that kind of biblical sense anyway.
Shameless Me or the Famous Me line. He's actually a Gemini, so he has those two sides, and basically he means his rap persona,
Okay.
and on the other side is just how he is in public, where he's more really quiet and more dignified. Um, and the lames he's talking about are posers like Drake, who really only have any connection with the culture in order to make money, kind of thing. That's what he meant by that. Lame speaking on the art I breathe or whatever he said.
Now, I mentioned that because I was like, oh, I feel like maybe I'm one of the lames because obviously this is completely new territory for me to even be looking at any kind of rap stuff because it's just not something I usually delve into. But it's something that I'm like, and again, I have to be very clear. Like, I like rap music. Like, I can if I'm out and I'm dancing or whatever else, like I'm dancing to those tunes. I've got tunes in my playlist and whatever, but I just don't deep it. I don't. It's not like the main thing that I listen to. For every two tracks that I might have in a playlist that's like a rap tune, or hip hop or whatever, there's probably like 45 to 50 vocal tunes. I mean, like that's just more of my leaning when it comes to what I listen to the most. So for me to react to something like this, like I already know that I'm coming in from a perspective of you don't really know too much about this arena. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I still think there's a valid place to have a thought about what it is you're hearing because ultimately, like, I'm still someone with ears. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's just an interesting perspective to have someone who is a bit like someone who had never listened to anything Beyonce related. Do you know what I mean? Like, just it'd be interesting to get their perspective on what it is that you're hearing because you're hearing it from someone you're coming from a perspective that's never really like delved into this before. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? So to hear it, that's the kind of lames we're talking about. I'm like, well, that definitely ain't me. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's quite reassuring. Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, so the song Hey Now, say it around. Drake was the one who thought he was Magneto. You play God and you get what you ask for. Yeah, so
Ah,
he basically said he put him in his place on that. Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Square, which is, he
right,
said, put a square on his back like I'm Jack Dorsey. Square is the name of the actual company, but the logo is square, is a square. It's a commerce company.
oh, answer my next
They
question.
allow people to take credit card payments.
Okay,
Like you could
like Stripe or
attach it
something.
to your phone, and somebody could swipe a credit card with it.
Okay, okay.
Send a kite to all my dirties in the pen, and basically, yeah, it's you. It's a way to you literally fly a kite, and it's a way to get money or whatever else to somebody in jail. Um, yeah, so that's it's literally what he meant.
See that I was like maybe it's like does it mean like a drone to like kind of get things into prison? Like is that what it is? And like yeah, I wouldn't have known that because like, there's no way he's actually talking an actual kite to drop or kind of contraband into a prison. But I guess that is literally what he's talking about.
Reincarnated seems like the first person may have been John Lee Hooker, and the second person Billie Holiday.
Now this is again brand new information to me because the John Lee Hooker, like that is not a name that I'm familiar with. So I need to go and Google who that is. But Billie Holiday, like, because obviously, when he's talking about that particular persona or character or what have you, like it's talking about like the sweet brown sugar and all that kind of stuff. So, and needles in their arm and that kind of stuff. I didn't know that Billie Holiday had any kind of addiction or was known to have that. So again, that's brand new information again. Didn't know that.
Of course, it's just a concept, but he's saying he was reincarnated as first Hooker, then Holiday, then himself, and then the conversation turned from a conversation between Kendrick and his father to Lucifer, the devil, and God.
Now that I did pick up on. I don't know if I actually mentioned it in my reaction, but I definitely did pick up on the whole, you've been sent down here and look what you've done since you've been here and all that kind of stuff. So I did pick up on the whole Lucifer. In fact, I think I did because I was talking about Lucifer and all the different names for him. I thought that again was really clever. But even to think of that transitioning from this John Lee guy to Billie Holiday to him and his dad to then God and Lucifer, like it's just the mindset to think of those things and then to artistically put that together. It's crazy.
By the end, because Lucifer was kicked out of heaven and he became the devil. Okay, so TV off. Love that. Chili is money, as in get your chili up.
Okay.
On that one. Love that song. I love all of these, but okay, Dodger Blue is my second favorite. So you have good taste.
Hey.
I like where he said, "Have you ever took a fade and ran 3 more back to back? Then shut the fuck up and keep it rap." I love that little Jason Voorhees sound. It's so funny. And then when the line "bitches sick got their stomach" in her comments, is basically saying his way of saying they're showing their jealousy. They're criticizing her in their comments because they're jealous of her.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, and my favorite thing on Dodger Blue is the part where it says, "Ooh, don't take it personal. You won't be the first to know. Just might be the first to go." It's hard. Okay, Peekaboo. My favorite part of that is, "Hey, hey, 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 that's my bitch." Peekaboo. It is, it took me a while to like it, but I love it now because of all the, huh? What? The way he makes hms and ha's and what and wahs and all these noises, so cool over time. You will start, if you listen to it, I've listened to this probably 30 times already. But if you start to listen to it, you'll catch on to those little noises he makes, and it just makes the whole song.
I think that's interesting because I did say that like there's something about like what he sounds like on a track to me that really appeals to me. Like, and I think it's to do with those kind of utterances and those different like onomatopoeic noises and things that he makes as well. Like, so I think yeah, I completely agree with that.
So it's that's what makes me like it. Heart Part 6. Okay. This one actually, no wonder you loved it because it used a sample of SWV's song "Use Your Heart." I think that was one you said you had never heard. They performed it on the Tiny Desk, but you said you'd never heard it before. But yeah, that if you listen to it, it's the same song. They use the exact same, I guess, melody and the exact same chorus that's in the song. And then he just rapped over it, basically.
Okay.
But, okay, so he does a heart before each of one of his album releases. And during the beef with Drake, Drake used the Heart Part 6 as the title of one of his diss tracks. Totally disrespectful.
Okay.
But, so he totally ignored that and continued with his series. And also, though he never mentioned Drake in the song, the simple fact that he still has friends, that he's still friends with each and every one of those six or so men that he mentioned, is basically the biggest diss to Drake, because Drake doesn't seem to have any long term friends like that. I mean, these are damn near childhood friends that he grew up with and made this business with and started making music with, and now is still friends with.
That's interesting because again, that's another piece of background that I wouldn't have known because why would I know that? Do you know what I mean? Why would I know that? So again, filling in the kind of blanks for me like that is really helpful to give it more weight and a bit more clarity. So like things like that, the fact that Drake had actually labeled one of his tracks one of the series that Kendrick actually has for the tracks before he brings out an album. Wouldn't have known that either. Do you know what I mean? It's just really super interesting.
So that's a testament to his who he is as a person, and then his friendships. DNX. Okay. I love that you get this song. Oh my God. A lot of people don't like this beat. I think it's so cool because it's so quirky. And then the way Jay Hitta 3 rode this beat is he's a standout to me on this song, on DNX. And then Gloria, okay. So he's still with his high school sweetheart, Whitney, who he has two kids with.
Okay.
So at first, this song seems like he's talking about their relationship, but the last line, that bitch been my pen, reveals he's talking about his relationship with his writing skills, his actual pen.
Now that is like I didn't even think of it like that. I literally just thought that he was talking about his spouse, his partner, whoever she was. I didn't even know that was her name. So to know that he's actually talking about the relationship with his writing skill, his actual pen that he writes with, the actual him putting them bars to paper, putting out those bars to lyrics, those lyrics to song. That's what he's talking about. That relationship.
So if you go back and listen to it now, knowing that he's talking about his pen and his writing, his relationship with his writing, then you'll realize that he's a damn genius.
Yeah.
There's two addendums that I thought of that I did not mention but are really important. One is that the song Reincarnated uses a Tupac song called Made Niggas. But not only is he using the Tupac song sample, but he actually is using Tupac's flow, his style. He's kind of imitating Tupac in this
Okay.
song, which is yet another layer to not only the song, but also because he's kind of saying he's kind of implying that he's reincarnated. To Tupac is reincarnated into him or through him. You can't avoid that. That's just another jab at Drake, because it's Drake had to use AI to get Tupac's voice onto his diss track. And all Kendrick had to do was pull from his knowledge of Tupac and Tupac's flow and Tupac's music to kind of achieve something similar but way more classy, so to speak. Way more thought out also.
I think that is so interesting. That's something that I definitely want to pick up on, like actually, and there are some like obviously big bangers of Tupac that I do know of, but I wouldn't say that like, and I can hear his voice even as I'm saying what I'm saying, but I wouldn't have ever thought about the flow that Kendrick was dropping on that track, and whether or not that was emulating Tupac. But the fact that is something that has been picked up on, I think, is absolutely huge, and the fact that like it can't be denied that's got to be another jab at Drake, where you can employ AI in order to do the job of emulating someone that is an icon to you. When actually Kendrick didn't need to do that. That's deep.
Okay, and then one little detail that even I had missed after many listens of Gloria was that at the end where SZA, well, first of all, SZA is singing as Gloria, as the writing skills or as the pen. And at the end, she says, Gloria, I want to take you to Euphoria. But that's the name of one of his diss tracks. And it's kind of funny that the pen wrote Euphoria, which was arguably one of the best diss tracks of the battle, you know, next to Not Like Us, which just went so viral. But yeah, just these little nuggets that you start to see that make the song so layered and kind of genius. But
So yeah, for me, like I just think that, like, bearing in mind these are some of the questions that I raised during my reaction, I just thought it was a really, really cool way to kind of like just answer some of those things, actually share them with everyone, because I listened to that and I was like, wow, didn't know that, wow. And obviously there's going to be people that have spent so much time with the album already that some of these things may be really, really apparent. But I just wanted you guys to know that if you had watched that, that there were some of these things that I'm now aware of as well, because and I didn't want necessarily people like to have to keep repeating themselves, like, oh, I'm digging all this, digging all that, and there might still be things that even there that I've missed out on, that I didn't really pick up on and stuff. So if there is anything outside of that, then by all means feel free. But yeah, man, I just thought it was really, really, really cool. And then the biggest thing that shocked me was the reincarnated thing with Tupac. Like, I would definitely wouldn't have picked up on that at all. That the pen, like, let me take you to Euphoria. Like, well, sorry, that the pen was actually the writing skill. It wasn't just his part; it was the writing skill that was actually the pen. And then actually, let me take you to Euphoria, which links back to one of the diss tracks that was already released and stuff. I think those were the biggest ones. Ace Boon Coon as well. That's probably another one. They might be the biggest ones actually, I think. But either way, all I can say is that, like, the album itself, it is so layered, and that's just from my initial perspective. Second listening, I suppose, with some of the comments from Brenda, and I was blown away from the first go. So yeah, man, I cannot wait to kind of. I've got another list that my patron has sent me of Kendrick stuff, and also, you know, there's going to be other artists that I kind of want to go back to as well, who I probably haven't historically listened to, if I'm honest. Which, you know, I've got a friend, my best friend actually, like, he's a massive hip hop fan, and I know for a fact that he's going to be like, I can't believe you finally decided to dig yourself into hip hop, man, and just find out a bit more. So I know he's going to be absolutely like, yes, bruv. But yeah, man, I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to kind of dig some more. So hopefully this was enjoyable, and like if there was stuff that you kind of agreed with, if there was any, you know, if there was some stuff that maybe you got any kind of difference of opinion on, I'd like to know which bits, like, and why, or if there's anything else that you think, you know, could be uncovered from what I've seen or not seen or missed or whatever, and then do let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy this, like I said, then do drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you so much. And if you do want access to my reactions just like this before it comes to YouTube, then please head over to my Patreon, which is a great way to help support the channel, and it's a great way to connect with me more as well. So you're kind of lose. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.